Today I wanted to show off something that is so super cool that I had recently gotten that I'd recently found, to my luck, a copy of, and that would be a novel that shows that the expanded universe actually predates the Star Wars films themselves. It's very interesting to me that the expanded universe actually, well, it takes place before the films. It was being released before the films. Because what a lot of people don't know is that the novelization of Star Wars was released prior to the original Star Wars film. The original Star Wars film was released in 1977 and immediately became this huge pop culture thing. It took over the world. Everyone was talking about Star Wars. Everyone was talking about this new movie. And it was a big deal. Obviously. And the novelization was printed many times thereafter, so maybe a lot of people would assume it was published after, but actually it was published before. The Star Wars novelization by Alan Dean Foster, but on the cover it says it was George Lucas, because Alan Dean Foster ghost wrote it for George Lucas, was in fact released in 1976, specifically in December of 1976. So it predated the film, and was released kind of to generate buzz for the film before the film came out, so that some people would at least be familiar with the concept of Star Wars before the movie came out. And this copy is now very hard to get a hold of. It can go for hundreds of dollars on eBay, but I was lucky enough to snag one for a very great price, and that would be this right here, Star Wars by George Lucas, and it's got this cover here, which is a Ralph McQuarrie art piece, as you can see his signature down there, and look at what the characters look like. You've got 3PO here, and R2, Luke not looking too like Luke, and Chewie not looking too like Chewie. Vader looks Vader enough, but not completely Vader-esque. It retailed for $1.50, which is unheard of today. And as you can see, it is Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker by George Lucas. And then you can see the spine here as well. Valentine book, Star Wars, George Lucas. And here is the description it gave on the back, which I will go ahead and read. It says, Luke Skywalker challenged the stormtroopers of a distant galaxy on a daring mission, where a force of life became the power of death. Farm chores sure could be dull, and Luke Skywalker was bored beyond belief. He yearned for adventures out among the stars, adventures that would take him beyond the furthest galaxies to distant and alien worlds. But Luke got more than he bargained for when he intercepted a cryptic message from a beautiful princess. Held captive by a dark and powerful warlord, Luke didn't know who she was, but he knew he had to save her, and soon, because time was running out. Armed only with courage and with the lightsaber that had been his father's, Luke was catapulted into the middle of the most savage space war ever, and he was headed straight for a desperate encounter on the enemy battle station known as the Death Star. And then we have something so super cool. Soon to be a spectacular motion picture from 20th Century Fox. That shows that this novel was released before the movie. Isn't that wild? Just think of a Star Wars book coming out before the movie. It's almost an unthinkable thought to me that this came out before the movie. And so this is why it's one of the most prized items in my collection. I absolutely can't believe I have a copy of this because this run is harder to get a hold of. From December of 1976. It's been reprinted, I think, for 150 runs or something like that, and it has all of these covers. I'm going to put a lot of covers on screen. It has been re-released to death. There are many printings of it that have come out after the film. But this is the most prized because it came out before the film, and it demonstrates that the expanded universe predated the film. This is mostly a scene-for-scene recount of the movie, but there are some differences here. For instance, there are some cut scenes involving Cammy and Fixer that were in the script for A New Hope, and that there were scenes filmed that didn't make it into the original film. Those are in this book. There's a description of Jabba that is at that is original to this book that described him as a shaggy biped. That's an original thing to this book as well. And it hints at the Luke-Leia romance of back in the day before Lucas had decided for Return of the Jedi that they were siblings. And so the end is kind of shivering-inducing for a current Star Wars fan. As it says, as he stood awash in the cheers and shouts, Luke found that his mind was neither on his possible future with the Alliance, nor on the chance of traveling adventurously with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Instead, unlikely as Solo had claimed it might be, he found his full attention occupied by the radiant Leia Organa. She noticed his unabashed stare, but this time, she only smiled, which is, kind of yucky nowadays. But that is this novelization by Alan Dean Foster, that has George Lucas's name on the cover. It's a decent read overall. It reads just like the film. There's new stuff in here with the Tuskens, with Jabba, with Biggs. Biggs has a lot of new dialogue with Luke that makes his death like way more impactful than Biggs Darklighter's death was in the film, as some of his scenes were cut and the character was kind of underutilized in the film. But he has a lot more to do in the book. Which is really nice. We get to know him a bit more as a character, so his death feels more impactful. So that is this novelization. This novelization is not part of the Disney canon timeline. It remained in the expanded universe timeline. It wasn't crossed over into the canon timeline. It remained an old expanded universe novelization, like Revenge of the Sith, like Attack of the Clones, like Phantom, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back. All of these original novelizations, Empire by Donald F. Glutt, Return of the Jedi by James Caan, Phantom by Terry Brooks, Attack of the Clones by R.A. Salvatore, and Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover were all considered to be exclusive to the expanded universe. In addition to this, those old movie novelizations are only in the EU timeline. So this is an expanded universe book that came out before the films, showing that the Star Wars expanded universe predated the Star Wars films themselves. Which I just think is kind of wild. A couple of the Marvel comics were hitting shelves a little bit early as well that adapted the film. A couple of those were hitting shelves a little bit around the time of the release of A New Hope in 77 as well. So, the expanding universe has been there since the beginning, which I think is very important and very interesting. So I just wanted to highlight that with this video, talking a bit about this December of 1976 edition of Star Wars A New Hope. And it's copyright to the Star Wars Corporation. It wasn't called Lucasfilm yet. 1976, and first edition, December 1976, which was the only edition sold with this cover. This original art piece by Ralph McQuarrie, which I think is really, really good. I love the reds, the purples, the black. Vader looks great. I think it's a terrific cover. So very happy to have this in my collection, a cherished piece. If you can get a hold of this specific copy, for your collection, I definitely recommend trying to track this one down. There's just something really special about this, in the fact that it predates the film. We don't really have a lot of Star Wars media at all that predate the original film, so it just stands in a unique, kind of special position, which is why I thought it was worthy of making a video about it. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.